Shalom, shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Akakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to you brothers that's pushing the word in sincerity and truth. Alright, so as you can see on the screen, this article is entitled America's 1% hasn't had this much wealth since just before the Great Depression. Now the 1% of America, okay, it's talking about the rich ruling class, which the majority of them, a large majority of them, okay, are red Hebrew Edomites or Edomites, descendants of Esau, according to the scriptures, okay, and right now they're basically living their lot, okay, they are in control of the wealth, and this article goes into certain aspects of it, and it's making a comparison between before the Great Depression hit. The 1% had a lot of wealth, and now the 1% have a lot of wealth. So we're coming into a time now. The Great Depression, which happened in 1929, it brought forth misery, and there's going to be another Great Depression, but it's even going to be a greater depression, and it's going to lead to the destruction of America. All right, so we're hitting in a time of a market collapse, and all the things that correlate with it. The famine, the martial law, okay, the wars. Because after the Great Depression, what happened? To stimulate the economy, you had to have another world war. Now, this article is written by Andrew Keshner, February 24th, so it came out today. It says a new study puts wealth inequality in a historical and perhaps worrying perspective. All right, you think of, you said a worrying perspective, you think of the day when the keepers of the house of Chimble, okay? Because we're coming into that time. It says it's not fashionable to wear flapper dresses and do the Charleston, but the 1920s style wealth inequality is definitely back in style. It says new researchers say America's ultra rich haven't held as much of the country's wealth since the Jazz Age, those freewheeling times before the country's finances shattered. U.S. wealth concentration seem to have returned to levels last seen during the Roaring Twenties, wrote Gabriel Zuckman, an economic professor at the University of California, Berkeley. So you have different professors and different financial forecasters. They study different trends, and right now the trend is a familiar trend which happened before in the 1920s, before the Great Depression. The same thing is happening now before a new depression. Okay, it says I'm skipping down because I'm not going to try to read the whole article, but there was a few points in here that I wanted to bring out. Next, skip down to another paragraph. It says in 1929, before Wall Street crash unleashed the Great Depression, the top 1% richest adults' share of total household wealth was close to 25%, according to Zuckman's papers, which was distributed by the National Bureau of Economic Research. Those plunged in the early 1930s and continued dropping to below 10% in the late 1970s. Finding shows rates have been on the rebound since the 1980s and are currently close to 20%. All right, because these different rich, well-to-do, they have businesses, all right, tied around things that the population has to have. For example, insurance. You got top rich people have stake in these different insurance companies, and everybody has to have it as a mandate by the government. So the rich that have their hands in those different industries, they are paid handsomely, and with the rates being raised and people being squeezed, the top elites get richer while the poor get poor. Okay, housing, certain aspects of that, food, so all types of things that you have to have, that people need, that the price is going up. The rich, the super rich, the super elites, they have their hands in those type of things, and that's how they get rich. As the price goes up, they profit off of it. But it's only short term, and we're going to go into the scriptures. There's a few scriptures that I wanted to bring out All right, back in the article, it says, here's another part. It says, and it goes into the statistics. It says, U.S. household net worth. Okay, because the net worth has risen and it's in decline. It declines. All right, and they're pointing out things that have a bubble. Okay, certain things that have a bubble. But it says millions of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. The recent federal government's partial government shutdown forced some federal workers to food pantries and cash at harsh light on America's lack of savings. Yeah, because with that government shutdown, it exposed the fact that the average citizen, the average working class citizen, has no savings, okay, to hold him over just in case a crisis comes. That's why everybody was crying to President Trump to open up the government. All right, and these people are still in the same situation if there would be another government shutdown too. Okay, it said, but Colombo says people should be more worried about issues other than the current gap between rich and poor. America's wealth inequality is not a permanent situation, but a temporary one because the asset bubbles behind the wealth bubble are going to burst and cause severe economic crisis. So he says, look, you shouldn't worry about the inequality between the rich and poor because that gap, so to speak, is nothing but a temporary gap because when that thing pops, ain't nobody gonna be making money out here. All right, well, certain people always make money through a crisis, but it's not going to be so because it's going to be an economic crisis. And the majority of this economy is set up is based off of debt anyway. This is but a temporary one because the asset bubbles behind the wealth bubble are going to burst and cause severe economic crisis. Okay, so there is going to be severe economic crisis. And we'll bring it out. It says he added, my argument is that our society should be worrying more about these asset bubbles than the temporary inequality. Yeah, because he knows something is coming. All right, and this is an article. Lord's Well, I'll put this in. I'll put the link to it in post production. I got this off of blacklistednews.com as a link. So the first scripture that I'm gonna go into is Proverbs 21:7. It says, "The robbery of the wicked shall destroy them, because they refuse to do judgment." All right, and since the wicked doesn't do judgment, they don't judge according to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. They put themselves in a position where their society is going to collapse and it's going to destroy them. Okay. Now the word for robbery, that word is shad. Shad, it means havoc, violence, destruction, devastation, ruin. All right, and a lot of these, I just got finished watching The Devil That We Know on Netflix. I was halfway through it, but these corporations in making all of this profit, multi-billion-dollar corporations, they do a lot of destruction. All right, they wreak a lot of havoc, violence, destruction. Okay, havoc, violence, destruction, devastation. Okay, they ruin the ecosystem. Okay, they destroy the people. Sometimes a lot of multinational corporations, they have to bring forth violence, basically to wield their control over the people and continue to steal the natural resources. But guess what? That's going to ruin them. Okay, it's going to ruin them. Even the wealth inequality, that's going to ruin them too. Okay, because the same people that you use to tread down your fields, so to speak, all right, they're going to complain to the Heavenly Father, and that's mainly Jake. Okay, our people. That's why I'm going to bring out James 5:4. It says, "Behold, the hire of your laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept by fraud, crieth, and their cries, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth." All right, and we're the crying laborers, okay? All right, because brothers have jobs, we work for different corporations, and we see the bullshit, man. We see right through the bullshit. Okay, we'll look up this word, fraud, apostadio, in the Greek, which means to defraud, rob, despoil. Okay, defraud, destitute, defraud, rob, despoil. Okay, because you defraud the people in their wages. Okay, and that's how you become rich. All right, you hold back the wages. The top CEOs in this country make 100 times more than the average employee. Okay, and they get bonuses every year. All right, and they destabilize countries through their policies. They destabilize ecosystems. All right, this is the next scripture. This is Ezekiel 22 and 29. And when you read Ezekiel and you read this chapter, it's talking about the Israelites. Now, this is what the Israelites used to do to their own people. All right, which got them expelled out of the land of Israel. But now, Esau does the same thing. All right, we're a victim of what we did to each other as a people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, we're the same victim. All right, and guess what? Esau, he does the same thing to us that we did to our own people. All right, this is Ezekiel 22 and 29. It says, "The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery and have vexed the poor and needy. Yea, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully." Okay, and that's what the top elites do. And just the top 1%, this is going into the top 1%, but guess what? It's also talking about these elites. Okay, the elites of this society too. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I go back to James 5 and 3. I'm gonna start at James 5 and 1. I should have started at 1. It says, Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you, because you're gonna lose all your riches. Okay? You're gonna lose all your riches, and everything that you've stolen is gonna be changed over to the nation of Israel. That's why, let me get this scripture in it's the book of Sirach, Sirach 10. Let's pull up. It's Sirach 10 and Sirach 10 and 1. It says, let me see. Oh, hold on. Give me a second. It's Sirach 10. Yeah, here it goes. Yeah, Sirach 10 and 8. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Okay? So guess what? Because of your unrighteous dealings, your injuries gotten by deceit, all right, your riches gotten by deceit, okay? The kingdom of heaven is translated from one people to another. So it's going from you red Hebrew Edomites, all right, to the Israelites. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Okay? So you really need to take heed to this guy when he said what he said. And this is what he said back in the article. He said, but Colombo says people should be more worried about issues other than the current gap between the rich and the poor. Americans' wealth inequality is not a permanent situation, but a temporary one, because the asset bubbles behind the wealth bubble are going to burst and cause severe economic crisis. Okay, and that's what's coming. Severe economic crisis. Now, let me go to the book of Ecclesiastes 12. And it says, I'm going to start at 1. It says, remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. So you're supposed to remember the creator in thy days of thy youth, while the evil days come not. Because when this economic collapse that this guy is warning about in this article, when these bubbles burst, okay, and the severe economic crisis come, look, man, there's not gonna be time to you're not gonna have time to really look for the Lord in that time. The Lord is not gonna be found in that time. Okay, then you gotta remember the Lord in the days of your youth. Okay. It says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, And the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few. And those that look out the windows be darkened. Because you best believe it, when this economic crisis comes, that's going to be the day when the keepers of the house going to tremble. The strong men are going to bow themselves. Okay, and the people that look out the window, it's going to be darkened for them. There's not going to be no hope. And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So there's not going to be any mirth. There's not going to be pleasant moods, pleasant vibes, good vibes going on in the streets of America, okay? So I just wanted to share with brothers this article. America's 1% hasn't had this much wealth since just before the Great Depression. And this is an indicator that we're in the last days. We're in the times that the Lord spoke of through his servants, the prophets, the times of the end. Okay, because you have all these bubbles. You had the dot-com bubble, the housing bubble, and this is the everything bubble right here. This is your credit, your housing, everything. It's about to burst. Okay, see, these are indicators. All right, and this is just a sign of the times. The Lord gave us certain things to look for, and we can just read these articles and go into the scriptures, and we just proving that you so-called white people, you Edomites, you went from this to this, but then you're gonna go to looking terrible. Okay, all right, you're gonna go from looking terrible, and your top 1%, they're getting rich, but they're gonna go into slavery. They're gonna be the first slaves. Okay, in the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. They're not gonna die in the missiles, the nuclear missiles. When shit starts getting crazy over here, they're gonna be leaving America. Okay, or if they haven't already left already. All right, so with that, I just want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, Ba'ashim HaKodash, double honesty, apostles and elders, the great millstone, and salutation to you, brothers, pushing this word in sincerity and truth. Shalom.